Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. We've made it. We've made it this far. We have worked on our renders every single weekend. This marks the 4th weekend. Man, I am beat. I am tired. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. You all have been working very, very hard on your art, and we're gonna wrap it up today on stream. So, I'm going to be processing my art and color correcting my art in Davinci Studio today. This is gonna be a very chill stream. I'm tired. I was up late last night working on the render. So we're just gonna be hanging out, having a good time and chilling together. For those of you who don't know, we've been doing a 3D challenge over the last month. It's called Moving Meditations. And I've challenged all of you to take a prompt, pick your favorite animation, and create something cool from it. The deadline is tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. PST. There's a submission link in the description, so you can check that out if you are wrapping up your art just like myself, pushing it to the final day. But I want to go over my process here in Davinci Studio with all the renders. You know, anytime I wrap up a render, this is my process. It's how I color grade my stuff. It's how I add certain effects like vignettes and film grain and lens distortion and whatnot. So I think it's a very important process. I think it's something that can take your render to the final stages, and it's not truly done until, at least for me, until it passes through a spice pass, as I like to call it. So let's just hop in. I got my tea here. I'll be hanging out with y'all. If you want to join me, Davinci is actually free. Davinci Resolve is free. There's a link in the description. If you go to the Black Magic, they're one of the sponsors too. You know, if you win the top 5 for the Moving Meditation Challenge, y'all get Davinci Resolve Studio licenses, perpetual licenses. So just go down there in the description, click that link. You can download Davinci Studio or Davinci Resolve for free. It's like 95% of the actual paid version. So you'll be able to follow along pretty much the entire stream if you guys would like. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, Davinci. So my render. Let me just play my render for you a couple times. This is kind of what I'm working with. I will probably do one more render tonight, overnight. There's a couple things I'd like to tweak, namely the animation here on the screen. But there's gonna be text and titles on screen here, kind of talking about the challenge, what we've done in the challenge, etc. Little calibration loading on the monitor. Built this VR space, this like virtual volume that actually lights the character, which is pretty sweet. And then it will transition into the first piece of art. And I just pulled one of the submissions so far. I'll have to cut the top 100 to figure out what the first render would be in order for me to actually finalize my render. So I know I'm gonna have to do some re-rendering at a certain point. So let's go through, let's color correct this, let's add some effects, let's spice it up. And that shouldn't take too long. Once that's done, I will probably head back into Unreal and be adding a little bit more details and kind of wrapping it up that way. The stream will be fairly quick. You know, there's not too much to do because most of it's pretty much done at this point. But before we hop in, usually at this point, there'd be some sort of, you know, sponsor segment. No sponsor today, but we do have some Kit Bash codes, the final round of Kit Bash codes for y'all. So this is the last 50 codes, right? For those of y'all who want to check out the Kit Bash stuff, I used it in my render. It's all these buildings in the background here. All of these guys are bunch of different buildings, bunch of different Kit Bash buildings, and they do a bunch of themed kits. I'm sure you all have heard of them at this point, but the link, or not the link, the code is in the description. It is amped50. Amped50 gets you 50% off any kit bash kit you want. The first 50 people to use that code get 50% off. Good times. They're also one of the sponsors for this challenge and are giving away a free kit to every single top 100 artist, which is amazing. It's our first top 100 prize. And you know, as you win the top 5, you get your choice of 2 more. So you get a total of 3 from Kit Bash. So they're really holding it down for this challenge. So thank you to Kit Bash. Go get yourself some kits. 50% off. I believe it's 50% off your cart, as opposed to just one kit. So get them while they last. All right. So render-wise from Unreal Engine, right? There's some flickering in here. I think this will just happen. This is happening from like the amount of samples here in my ray traced reflections. So I would need to up that. I rendered this at 32. I would need to up it to 64. I think if I up the resolution too, it'll help with that as well. But I had to get something out for the stream today. So I'm hitting P in Davinci to go between full screen here. And I am in, I believe this is the Edit tab. Yep, this is the Edit tab. And it works really cool. There's a bunch of different tabs here at the bottom that you can go through. So we'll be mainly in color today, right? So if I were to get rid of this node, and by the way, it is a node-based system. It's super cool. You have all your wheels on the left, your gamma, gain, right, lift, all that good stuff. And we can see our histogram on the right side, where all of our data is. We got darks on the outskirts, and on the center it's very bright. As you can kind of tell, it's a visual representation of our levels here. And then we have like a little curves adjustment that we can mess with and stuff. We can mess with different, you know, different hues in the highlights. Maybe we want to shift it in the shadows, you know. We can mess with lens distortion. We can mess with bloom. We can mess with chromatic aberration. We could do film grain. We're going to do all that stuff. We're going to do vignetting, etc., etc. We have temperature here on the left. You can mess with that if you want to cool things off or warm it up a bit. Tint, right, is obviously, well, not obviously, for those of you who have never done this before, we have magenta. We can tint it towards magenta, or we can go green with it. And I kind of like that like matrixy green color. So I'm going to work in a little bit of that as we work. If you double click any of these, it'll reset it to 0. We have contrast, of course. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do stuff here in Davinci, just like there's a million ways to do pretty much anything in any software. So we can add contrast this way, right? Double click to reset, or we can crank the gain a little bit, drop the shadows, right, to get a nice image like this. Is another way to add contrast. We can use our curves adjustment here to add contrast. Lots of different ways to do this. So we're going to start from scratch though. This is the image I exported from Unreal Engine last night. And I set this up kind of specifically. I'm using aces for the most control here. And it is my first time using aces from Unreal Engine in Davinci Studio. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie at all. I followed our man, William Fauché. He's got a great tutorial on how to do it. So I set that up via his tutorial last night. I've linked it in the description. For those of you curious on how to do that process, basically you set up a like an OpenColor IO profile inside of Unreal Engine, and that will export out you know, specific settings. You gotta do a couple things here in your movie render queue to get it to export in a certain way. We're doing EXRs. This is an EXR sequence, as you can tell by the title down here. And we've set up Davinci in a specific way. If we go to a little cog on the bottom right, you can go to the color management tab, and we can set our color science to ACES CCT. I'm using ACES 1.2, and our output transform is a Rec 709. All this stuff is covered in the William Fauché video, but that is a very quick little snippet of what you need to do to set up Davinci to work with aces here. All right. Let's take a moment to just say what's up in the chat. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Drunken Whaler, is Davinci working in 4K resolution monitor? I'm about UI because I have some issues with 4K. It's looking upscale. I can't find a solution for this. Yes, this is a 4K resolution monitor that I'm on right now. It absolutely works in one. Yeah. Visual, what's up? What up, Visual? Urban Dust, I should add some blinking lights. Well, I think actually, oh, I didn't include it in this one, but the screen itself has a little bit of flicker to it. Oh man, it has been a month trying to get this render done, y'all. It has been crazy. I feel the burn. I'm ready for a little break. I'm gonna get this top 100 montage done. We're gonna judge it, of course, next week. Live judging. Be there for it. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna go over the top 100, and after that, I go to let's see. I go to Detroit. No, I go to Chicago. I'm going to Chicago for half res. So if you're there for half res, I'll see you there. And then I'll be at Camp MoGraph the next week. So I'm gonna be going on a little MoGraph 3D vacation by going to 3D events. It's gonna be great. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so good. Agent R, you need to fix your sleeping schedule. Yes, you do. Sleep is the most important thing. I didn't get much of it last night, unfortunately. Always try and get the most sleep you can. Yeah, sleep, very important. It's good to see y'all in chat though. Heck yeah. All right, for those of you who actually use Davinci, let me see a little thumbs up. It is free, by the way, so it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're trying to edit anything, it is the way to go. All right, let's color this thing. Let's do it. So in the color tab, right, this is node based, right? So we're gonna hit Alt S to make a new node. Alt S will get you a new node every single time. So no matter what we do, we can always switch things up. Nothing's ever baked in, which is fantastic. Now this is looking a little flat, so I want to bring some contrast to this. I also want to add a vignette to this. There's a lot of things I want to do to this. I want to add some color to this. Let's see. Yeah. So if I just crank the contrast slider, you can see on the right side the histogram just kind of opens up. But we are clipping our whites and we are clipping our blacks, and you can visually see that with the histogram. So it's a great tool to have. If you are in parade mode, you might be seeing this, but I'm in waveform here. We also have histogram. We got vector scopes. This helps for pulling the color in a certain direction. So we can kind of see that it's pointed towards greenish between yellow and red. So that's a great visual representation of that. But if we shift things green, let's just say we go really green, you can kind of see the color separate in that waveform viewer there, which is cool. Green is up top. But all right, let's get serious here. Let's dive in. Let's get a nice look. So I know I want it to be darker on the outsides, but not too bright in the middle. Let's bring our gamma up. I want to fill a bit more of the color space. Everything's crunched down low like this, so I want to bring it up. This is looking a bit more normal and vibrant. Just a nice subtle curve here. Nothing too intense. Generally, this is feeling pretty nice. All right, the next thing, I mean, I'm a sucker for vignetting. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll right click this and we're going to label this node. We'll call this contrast. And if you hit Alt S, we can make a new node. I'm gonna call this one vignette. Vignette. That vignette. Let's get it. All right, so if we go to the mask tab here and we select the circle mask, we can open this thing up. All right, we'll get this blue box just generally situated, and if we open up this right side, we can really feather this thing out. Open this up nice, like this. This is our vignette. And we can, again, do this a number of different ways. We can bring the gamma down, but you notice it's all happening from the center. So we want to invert that, all right? So we're gonna hit this little box right here. It's gonna invert that selection. You can see it right up in here. And if you hit the little magic wand, you can see just that layer. You can solo that layer and see what's going on. Gray is transparent, which means we have these borders here that we wanna bring down, right? So we can do that with the gamma, probably not the way to do it. We can do it with the lift. That's a little crunchy. Let's go back to our graph here. I think what needs to happen is we actually just need to adjust the mask itself. Control D is gonna hide that layer. Kind of see what we're doing. I want to dip it down a little bit. So I like to go extreme with things first and then kind of dial it back. So obviously this is really intense. We're going to open this up. And this is your feather right here. All right, nice. Something like that. We can go back to this guy and just kind of work that in. We can also do the lift too. Yeah. But that crunches it a little too much. Maybe a little something like that. All right, before and after, a little subtle vignetting here. Very nice. So we can do, let's see, let's select our contrast. We'll add one in between. We'll call this color. Let's see if we can't mess with a little bit of this color here. Again, lots of different ways we can do this. You know, we can warm it up. I like that matrixy green. And it kind of is already in that direction, right? If we go to the vector scope, we can kind of see that things are being pushed in between yellow and red. And there's a cyan blast somewhere in here. We can also crank the saturation too, because I am colorblind. This kind of helps me visualize a little bit more of what's going on. Obviously, this is way too intense. But we got some pinks, magentas, oranges in the skyline. Definitely green inside. There's some warmth as well. I also like to just mess with a bunch of these values here. I know one of these crunches and like adds a bunch of texture. I'm not a fan of that though. One way too, if you are like out of ideas, you can use their built-in LUTs too, right? So you can kind of go through these and see what it would look like with a LUT on it. Let's see. Let's go ahead and disable these, Control D. And maybe we'll add one, because we technically need one in order to add a LUT to it. Wow, these are all really, really crunchy.
Those first LUTs are converters, so like to convert from logarithmic to linear or from one gamma to another.
Yeah, linear to gamma.
In the left, maybe you can choose different ones instead of VFX IO or scroll down, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options here. We got Sony. That's super intense, my goodness. Red camera. Wow. That's awesome though.
I think it's under the film looks tab. Those are the ones you're probably looking for.
That looks great too, Olympus. Oh, I'm just browsing in general. Let's see. Yeah, these look great. That looks awesome. Beautiful. There's custom here. This was my alternate realities one, which looks wacky on anything other than my alternate realities render. Film looks is pretty nice. Very, very contrasty, very dark. There's probably like a nice little like shift here in the color tones. This one's not bad. So what we can do is we can double click that and it'll be applied to this node. And we can bring our other nodes back. It's gonna look way too intense with what we currently have. But what you can do is you can probably, let's see if we can start with this and end with this. Get this out of here. It's just too much though. So what you can do is, let's see, which tab is it? Yeah, there we go. It's this tab right here. So this will choose kind of like the opacity of the node, right? So if we just want a little bit of that look, we can kind of dial it in that way. And of course, double click to undo. So that's not a bad one. Let's go our setup. And it looks like they're dropping like the mid-tones or something. So we can try something similar. I do like that darkness though. It feels great. It's really focused on the center of this scene. As far as color goes, you know, I think it's just a matter of playing with it. So we have our shadows, midtones, and highlights. I'm using this little toggle on the right side here. This is our log wheels. And really isolate the midtones here, the highlights, and the shadows. Wow, that's crazy. That's all over the place. Yikes. So we can dip the shadows down towards green. And we can bring the highlights maybe up towards like a magenta or something. Or we could do that classic like warm, cool situation. Let's see if we do shadows, maybe towards like a bluish. And the highlights go towards maybe a more of a warmish tone. And we can really exaggerate it too, just to kind of see what's going on. And then we can dial it back, of course. Being colorblind definitely doesn't help, I'll tell you that much. That's not a bad look though, that looks pretty cool. So we can add some bloom. I think that would actually really help this. Make it feel a little bit more natural. So we can open up the effects tab here. One thing that like kind of confused me at first with Davinci was you can't really move windows around like you can in, you know, a bunch of other programs. You can't undock and dock certain things. There are certain things you can dock and undock in Davinci, but like I can't just like start moving this around all crazy and like put the scopes up here, the curves down here, this viewer on this monitor, this over here. It has a way of doing that a little bit, but it's nice in the way that everything is kind of like docked and undocked here, so you can really clean up your workspace quite easily by toggling all these different options, and I'm a fan of that. It takes a little getting used to, but I prefer it in the long run. All right, so let's search for bloom. Glow, yes, it is glow. Chromatic glow, uni. Oh, so okay, we got the red giant effects, I believe. I've never messed with these. Let's just see what happens. All right, let's hide this. Type this in. My God. All right, obviously way too much. So the threshold amount, only a certain amount of things can get the glow, and it's getting this like ridiculous contrast on the things that are glowing. So we can bring, let's see, aberration. I don't want any of that right now. Color, bring the saturation down. Looks a little bit better. We can bring it up maybe just a touch. Let's see what color strength does. Weird, okay, so it actually like removes it in a way. It's making it super red. It's crazy. It's just a little bit of saturation. The size. Okay, let's go up on the size just a bit. And then the intensity. we'll bring down, and then we'll just walk this up very slowly. So in DaVinci, if you actually use the slider, it moves a bit faster, but if you just hover over the numbers itself, you can get a real fine tune on it. All right, let's get that back down and slowly bring it up. Critical exception. I've never seen this ever in my life. I'll save the project. I will save and continue. Wow, did it just crash? But like, I think it just crashed, but it just kept barreling through. Brute force. Jeez. Dang, I'm trying to figure out what is the... Ah, shoot. Is it middle mouse? Okay. It does not like me doing that. I forget how to pan with the pen tablet, but it is okay. It is okay. Oh, another thing. I'm all about getting sidetracked. So if you go to the Edit tab, and there might be a way to do this in the Color tab. We can search for it, but lens correction, right? We can undo this. I added some, and this is in the Inspector tab in the Edit panel. And each clip comes with a bunch of things you can do with it. So of course, basic stuff like zoom. Right, we can move stuff around, we can rotate it, of course, we can do pitch and yaw and all that good stuff. Quick reset there. We can flip it. Let's see, of course we can crop it here, it's all built in. We can stabilize it if we want, but the lens correction is a good way to do this to your footage. Or the opposite. Right, and I just want to give it a little bit of that bend right there. Very nice. Making our footage worse so that it looks better. All right, back in the Color tab. Let's get this glow down. We can also figure out at what point we do the vignette. I feel like the vignette should always be last, I think.
Glow, I believe, should go after the vignette, because what happens is the lens lets less light hit the sensor around the edges, so it will naturally glow less there.
You know what? That's very fair. That is very fair. I'm trying to get rid of this clipping that we're seeing in the darks here, and I think that's just me needing to take that contrast. It is the contrast, right? There's so much data that we see back here that we're losing with our contrast. So I think I just need to get a little bit better with this here, hop back in and see what we can do. Oh, interesting. All right. Alright, so if you right-click these, you can remove them. We just add some contrast. Ah, yeah, okay, so those black levels, they really get clipped pretty quickly there. Let's see, our vignette is probably doing a little bit of that. Color is definitely not. Hide the glow for a second. I'm using Control D to hide all this stuff. So what we can do is actually bring up this value here on the tail end, and just to give you an extreme example of what that looks like, you've seen this look on Instagram, this photo look where it fades out the darks, right? And I think a little bit of that is nice, personal preference. And kind of just bring that up a little bit. I don't like what it's doing to the outside there, so you gotta be real close with it. And we can go back to our waveform here to see what's going on. Offset will just generally move the entire waveform. So maybe a little bit of offset could help us out. Just to brighten things up a little bit. And then the vignette can come in. Let's see if we can set this to like certain blending mode. I don't know how to do that quite at this point. But that's okay. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Yeah, we're not losing detail at this point. And we can try. Let's see if we solo this. We can try and remove the highlights, at least from the windows here. So this little tab here, this is the qualifier, and we can select that point there. And now it looks like we have control over just that area. So it's gonna brighten up just those specific spots. It kind of got rid of our vignette effect, which is not what we want. We want to remove that from the vignette. So I'm trying to think, like, is it a reverse situation where we invert that selection? Okay, so that's doing it just on that spot. I think that's what I want there. Yeah, exactly what I want. Great. Do you see that? How it's... Oh no, but that's not what I want because I... Oh wait, I think I need to undo the qualifier instead. That's what I want. Yeah, so you see how it brings everything down except for those windows? Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay. let's clean up that qualification though. So if we go and we click this little magic wand tool, we can kind of just feather that off a little bit because it's looking a little chunky. We could do it from saturation, luminance only. This is kind of everything working together. Not a bad look. Let's see if we just kind of, we just want the sky. We want to save that sky. I don't mind bringing the buildings down, as that will actually help pop the buildings out from that background. Alright, that's nice. And then we can kind of drag this little left side here to feather it out. A little bit of feather goes a long way. A little something like that. But I want to get rid of all this other stuff. So if we hit the minus dropper, and we minus those guys, it's gonna get rid of that. So that just gets rid of everything. It's a very similar tone here. We can just work it in nice and slowly, nice and subtly, and try and find a nice balance here. Messing with the Q. That's not bad. Let's find that nice balance there. Cool. And then saturation. If there's a slight roll off on everything, you'll be better off than just hard edges. All right. So now when we bring this down, oh, you see how it's flipping that. I kind of want the whole thing then, huh? Let's go extreme with it. Let's go back to the qualifiers and see if we can't. Maybe it doesn't really matter if we have a bit more of those lights. Keeping the highlights in, it's not a bad idea. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, it definitely muddies it up in the rafters. And it's taking the stars down too. That's a tricky one. I wonder if there's a way to just set it to screen. I mean, that would be the easiest way. And I also realize I'm going really intense with it, so maybe it doesn't need to be that crazy. Something like that. And we'll just focus that scene right here in the center. That feels pretty nice. Oh, nice little glow going there. Feels good. Can maybe adjust this a touch, the threshold amount. So it gets a little bit of the stage, but not too much, because we don't want to lose it. All right, if we go in. Ah, so now that vignette needs to be animated, right? So we can keep the vignette probably up until here. And then it needs to start moving and growing. So let's see. Let's take that vignette. We have our keyframes here on the right side. I'm not sure specifically where to set this keyframe, but now we have 3 correctors. I wonder what that's probably the stuff on the left here. Effects, perhaps, our glow, sizing. All right, we want to keyframe this mask here. One way to find out is to just put a keyframe on everything, move forward, adjust it, and figure out where it is. So, corrector 3, circular window. Okay, so that's what we actually need to adjust. That's good to know. We can undo all those keyframes we made, and we'll move forward to the point where we feel like, boom, let's say right there. And we'll drop down corrector 3, circular window, we'll make that keyframe. Did it make the keyframe there? I'm not seeing one. Maybe corrector 3 need, no, just a circular window, I guess. We'll move forward until we kind of get to the edges here. We'll move this out and we'll open it up a touch. All right, so why it didn't make, strange. Okay, so here's what I'll do. Let's go back to the point where we want to start it right here. All right, circular window has a keyframe. I guess that means it's looking for changes. All right, I'll make a small change. Boom, there it is. Let's set the keyframe that way. Come to the edge, open that up. Boom. Wonderful. So that'll scale up with us as we zoom in here. Or dolly, it's a dolly zoom technically. Samuel, what's up? Thank you for that super chat, man. Very kind of you. This has been a blast. You've learned so much in Blender. You do have an idea for a prompt. The camera orbits around a fixed sphere. Everything else is up to creativity. I think it could make some interesting renders. Ooh, okay. So like everyone is kind of like, could be a miniature scene. Everyone's gazing at this giant, you know, maybe everyone's looking at a planet or something. That's not a bad idea. It's a slow orbit. Full 360, you'll lose your mind. That top 100 montage is, I mean, you will fall down from dizziness after the first minute, probably. So you got to keep it nice and subtle. Man, I had to hand animate this darn character. Ugh. Not fun. Not fun. We can adjust the glow here too, so it kind of like creeps in a little bit more to this guy. Sweet. That's pretty awesome. So how, you're asking how this material was made. So here's what I did. I was saying his chest texture looked good. The character is from Daz, free program. Technically, all of this is free, which is nuts. I used Unreal Engine to make the scene. I used Daz to make the character. And I'm using Davinci to color correct and process. All of these programs are free, which is mind-blowing. In terms of the animated screen, what I'm doing is actually creating... Alright, so this is kind of... It's a little involved here, but what I'm doing is... I know that I originally built this with this like this TV grid pattern, right? So it's 9x4, and the top and bottom is 1x1. It's 9x9 screens. So what I did was I went into After Effects. I made a composition that was 9x4. I scaled it up so it's like 2700 by 1200, and I took that. I threw a grid on it. So I was looking at all these TV screens in theory, right? And built out different graphics to be displayed on those screens. And I even went as far as like, so if you notice here, we have all of these, we have this render, I guess we'll start here. We have this like loading, calibrating kind of step here where all of these things flash on. So I had to go in and add all these numbers here to count the screen, and they do like the RGB, CMYK situation, black and white on top and bottom. And each one of those was kind of, it's half hand done and half trying to find ways to make it faster in After Effects. And then as far as like this loading bar, it's, you know, very basic After Effects stuff. Projected, these are all in their own composition, so whatever's in one composition is copied across all these different squares. And then when we get to this point, the renders actually, it transitions to the first render of the challenge. And I had to like hand animate all these, well, hand animate. That's saying a lot. I had to show and hide a bunch of white squares to reveal the render. And you can actually see it react on the character too, the lighting on the character. And that is with a bunch of emissive texture objects in Unreal Engine. So I saved out each one of these screens is its own video. So I had 5 different videos, and I brought them into Unreal Engine, and I used the, what is it, the media player. I used the media player. It's actually the same process for that music video I did in Unreal Engine a while back with that video screen emitting a video. It was just a little bit cleaner this time around with Unreal Engine 5. And, you know, after using Unreal Engine for a while, a little bit easier. Can you guys spot any Easter eggs here? There's a few. There's a few. All right, so let's see if we can't animate the glow. Because technically there is an exposure shift happening here that you can actually see if I scrub it pretty quickly. So we need to adjust our glow a little bit. I'll start from here. We'll grab that glow. We'll drop down the effects, uni glow, boom. Why can I not make a keyframe on that? Yeah, it looks like it's just the effect tab. All right. We'll get that threshold a little bit. Oh, let's see if that works. Yeah, okay. Hey, there we go. All right, and then we'll come forward. And we'll get that threshold up just, or down, I guess, just a bit. Just a little. Yeah, that's good. Sweet. Awesome. What else? Shoot, what else? Let's see, let's just scroll through these effects. We got blurs, we got some color stuff. We can generate some stuff, we can key some stuff out. Light, all right. Lens reflections. All right, let's see what this does. Let's just have some fun here. Let's see what lens reflections does. Where are you? Lens flare. Oh, we gotta be careful with that. Aperture diffraction. Okay, that's like the leveled up glow. Let's see what halation does. Light rays, I'm not even gonna mess with that. All right, we have the refine features, beauty features. So some of these effects are only in the studio version. Let's see. Noise reduction, okay. Chromatic aberration removal. We can sharpen, we can stylize it. There's a vignette option. Interesting. I wonder. Let's just mess with that. Watercolor, okay. Interesting. Wow, we can add motion blur. We can make it stop motion. We can add motion trail. Wow, this is awesome. Analog damage, film grain. Yes, please, film grain. Let's do a little bit of that. Detail recovery, dang. Bunch of warp effects. Ooh, lens distortion. Let's see if this lens distortion is better than just like the built-in one. Fisheye fixer. Camera shake. Lots of cool stuff here. And these are all the man, there's like 3 companies in one. That Red Giant Universe plugins, I guess that's what they're called. We have some glow generators. All right, we have a lot of stuff to play with. Sweet. What do we want to do first? What do we want to do first? Let's see about this vignette. Goodness. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about this. Advanced. Goodness. Okay, well, first off. Oh. God, I feel like I'm passing out here. Jeez. No joke. Okay, no joke. I did this like stunt plane thing in Vegas, and they take you up and they like fly you around. And basically, I don't know if they try to make you pass. We were filming the thing, all right? And so they went hard. And my vision, no joke, just went like this. And then it got to the point where I couldn't see anything. My eyes were open, but I couldn't see. And I was like, I guess this is what it's like to pass out. Not so bad. Yeah, so that was pretty sweet. Anamorphosize. Alright, so that's what? No. effect. You hit Control D to hide it. Yeah, okay, that's no effect. It's doing some similar work. I mean, so you set it to, let's see, if we bring this, let's make it really intense just so we know what it's doing. I'm always down for that. So full intensity, and we set it to add. That won't do it. That's taking away the multiply, really?
If you change the color from black to like a dark blue or something, then you'll see the difference more.
Just gonna make it dark blue though, right? Abort! There's gotta be an effect in here somewhere that's going to allow the highlights to shine. Okay, overlay. I knew you were in here somewhere. Let's see. Let us bring the size back up.
You're also gonna have to animate the size instead of the mask.
I wonder if that's better than this. I do one at the same time, huh? Okay, yep. Alright, so that is that one. This one is ours. I kind of like ours better. Yeah. Alright, but it's good to know it's there. Certainly. What is next? We want to mess with next. Watercolor. Let's just see what watercolor does. Oh! My god. Looks like some AI art. Okay. No offense to any of those robots out there. Let's see. RGB. Yes, smoothness. How smooth. Ah, perfect. Beautiful. Oh, that's so weird. Oh my goodness. We want just a little bit of that chunk. But do we? Oh, that's interesting. I wish it wouldn't brighten our image like that, because that'd be pretty cool with these lines. Anyway, that's cool. I never mess with that. Film grain, I know that's happening. That's going to be the last effect. I know that. And it's probably going to be hard to see here. Let's make ourselves a little bit of space here. Boom, boom, boom. So film grain, let's try 35 millimeter, 400. Let's go 200%. Why? It lets me do it like on other things. Weird. But yeah, this is a very very subtle effect here that you probably really won't be able to tell, but a little bit of this goes a long way. I'm all for this, just a little bit. That's cool. You can solo just the grain. Grain size, texture. That's awesome. Beautiful. Alright, so I know that's last. Let's see what halation does. I'll turn off the grain just for now. Control D. It feels like some glow. Wow, it's advanced. There's secondary glow. Jeez.
So halation is in film when they do in color, the red channel is like below. So sometimes the light enters the sensor, then bounces back and exposes the red channel again. So it's like a glowy effect on the red channel where there's like high contrast.
Interesting.
And then the secondary is the green channel, and it's usually less strong, so it gets like a yellowy glow and then a redder, whiter glow sometimes. It should be really subtle.
It's like some chromatic aberration level. Like, it's got to be super subtle. Lens reflections, lens distortion. I want to see what this lens distortion is all about. I guess technically it would come first. And let's go back to the edit tab. Let's hide this lens correction here, because we're definitely getting it once. We don't want to get it twice. Oh, wow. Okay, so it can replicate the border, tile it, reflect it, or just be black. Okay, so we would have to scale up our image a little bit. Yes, it's definitely more accurate than the one that we just did, because it's not really affecting the center, it's more affecting the edges. And I did have this going in Unreal, but I noticed some slight like stepping that was occurring, so I was like, I'm just doing it in Davinci.
And then if you adjust the channels, oh wow, when I told you, I could totally cover everything up. I'll leave quick. So if you adjust the different channels, you'll get accurate chromatic aberration more in the edges and all of that stuff.
That's cool. I am not a fan of them chrome abs. It's this overdone far too much. Global blend, how does that work? Yeah. Let us scale. What? We can't even scale. I have to nest it. Right click, new compound clip. Yeah, whatever. And we will scale it up. Maybe a little intense, I don't know. Oh, that's right, because I nested it. We gotta go in, right click, open in timeline, and then we can work on this. Maybe just bring it back a little bit. That's not bad. It feels a little bit better. Oh, I have color hidden? Why do I have color hidden? Is there glow on the color? Or is color just making... Oh, I'm confused. Alright, there's no glow on the color. I think it's just the way this is doing a thing here. So we can take... Let's see, let's go back to that keyframe. Let's make the adjustment here first. Like 91 or something. Sweet, now while we're talking about glow, let's actually see what this aperture diffraction does. Wow, okay. So you actually have some stars up in here too. Full quality, absolutely. Final composite, yes. All right. And smooth it out. Very cool. Wow. All right, iris shape. Let's see if this changes. Yeah, it just adds a couple more dealies. Whoa, that's cool. So this is a tough one, you know, like you can easily go to town here on these effects and just be like, oh, this looks cool, this looks cool. But like you gotta find specific reference for this stuff. And that's the tough thing, is gathering that reference. I'm sure is a little bit more difficult than just like you know, your basic reference situation. But I'm just going down the line here. I've never messed with these effects before. I think I just don't like the fact that it's red. Good God! My eyes! Y'all have seen Sunshine? That movie's great. When he's just like staring at the sun. 1%. Colorize. Alright, that's what I want. I don't even know what this would be. Like, man. somewhere in, I don't even know. I'm just guessing at this point. Art direction, okay. I'm down for a little bit of that though. It feels pretty sweet. I wonder if glow and this combined would be too much, but there's only one way to find out. It's pretty sweet though. All right, lens reflections. What's going on here? Wow, so many options. Oh. This is getting into some territory that I think is a little much. But you know, I've added them. I've added them in the past. Jeez. This is fun though. Going through all this stuff. It's one of those things where you just like, good God. Yeah. Subtlety is key. Subtlety is key. Man, I don't know. What is this even based off? Like, how? What is the reference on this? Shining a flashlight from the side into your DSLR, into your phone. You're gonna see some of this stuff. So I think that's what we're trying to get at here. But like, dude, this is a lot. Lens coating. Wow. That's advanced. Reflect elements 2. Reflect elements 3. Reflect elements 4. Yeah, so this needs to like... I say 1%. Oh god. 0.01. And is it even, do you even notice the difference? Barely. There's just like a slight color shift in the image. And not a good one either. So man, there's a lot of stuff to mess with here in Davinci. I'm gonna get rid of that. Let's render our clip real quick. So it's playing a little slower because of what we're putting it through. So what you can do is if you right click it and you click render cache color output, it's gonna do a thing. It's gonna render it. But I feel like it's not gonna render it until you tell it to. And you actually need to go to, let's see, playback, render cache, set that to user. And it'll just automatically go. You saw that red bar stretch across. It's gonna do its thing. It's gonna turn blue. Ryan, my render was crashing all last night. No worries, brother. It happens. You know, you just gotta tweak it, walk it back, do what you can. Epoxo, okay, okay. Where's the penguin? All right, the penguin is out. Penguin's out for sure. Let's see. Enhance. Might be a little penguin there. Might be a little penguin. Peeking on the side. Gotta add me a penguin to every render at this point. It's been so much fun doing like cable sims and stuff in C4D. It's so satisfying to just have it work in real time. That's how I got these guys here on the side. These nice cables here. Just a quick sim in C4D. And then knocked them around with some cylinders as colliders. It totally worked. These other ones are hand placed though. Like these guys up front here. These wires here. We're just messing with some splines and stuff. I probably could have done it as a sim. Now that I think about it, I could have just like pushed them with a box to straighten them out here. And or at least pinned them here at these points. I could do that. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good with this. It is still rendering. I think the only thing I'm gonna do here is just kind of maybe make this screen a little bit more advanced. Give it a little bit more motion here in the beginning. To have those reflections play with the floor would be really nice. But I finally figured out the glass. I figured out how to do good surface imperfections in Unreal. And I'll probably hop into Unreal pretty soon here to keep tweaking. QC Cuber. What is up? Welcome to the stream. Let me play it for you. We got the final video. Chunking along here. Huh. Very curious as to why it is doing that. It is rendered, but I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at it too, so. It's a little bright, huh? It's a little bright. I'm gonna wait on it though, because I'm gonna be changing that screen anyway over the next day. It's funny, I had this character in a normal looking chair, but because his pants were so big, he was blocking the chair completely, so look, like he was just sitting down and floating, sitting on nothing. I'm like, I can't have that. I gotta give him something. So I added that bench. The little cable sims too, and C4D behind him there. Looking real nice. All right. I can't really think of anything else here in Davinci. Like that's mainly what I do. I color correct, I add film grain, I add some lens effects. That's pretty much it, you know. I can keep tweaking to the end of time. Absolutely. Let me walk you through some of the cool stuff that I did in Unreal Engine, and maybe we'll tweak a little bit more before we close it out. Vigo, what did I use for the character? I used Daz. It's a free program, actually. I didn't know it was free. Okay, let's open up Unreal Engine. And while Unreal opens, I'm gonna play y'all a little tune. Soto, we gotta get the reverb on here at some point. You were like, "Oh, let's get it set up today." I'm like, I probably won't play. Here I am playing this thing. We gotta get the reverb going. It's just gonna sound so much better.
For sure, for sure.
That's the native flute. That one, you know, if you can blow into a Coke bottle, honestly, that's harder than playing the native flute. This thing's pretty sweet. It's from Blue Bear Flutes, all handmade. Really, really nice. From American Cedar, I believe. Now this, I'm only gonna put you through this torture for 30 seconds, and then we're gonna get back to the art. But this is called a ney. It's an Arabic ney, and it's I think one of the oldest instruments ever. I've heard as young as 2,000 years and as old as 4,000, and it's a dried reed, and it's made by, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name correctly, but if you look up Arab instruments and you dig in, you know, you can find out. I got this from Arab Instruments. It's made by this guy. There he is. Takes 2 years to dry, and then, you know, they drill the right holes and they tune it and all this. But this thing is darn difficult to play. Holy crap. Like I said, I'm only gonna put you through this for like 20 seconds. There's nothing worse than bad flute. And it jumps octaves on me. You really gotta lock down those octaves, and you can hit like 3 to 4 octaves on this thing. It's super cool. And it's all based on how your mouth hits this thing. God, it's so difficult. And it takes like 5 minutes for me to start getting something that sounds good. About all the torture I'll put you guys through this time. Back to Unreal Engine. That's why you all are here in the first place. All right. Maybe when we get the reverb set up, it'll sound a little bit better. Okay, let's figure out why we're flickering so intensely. Let's go to our post-process volume. Let's just kind of get a hold on things here. Let's search for ray tracing. Let's turn off these bounces. You know, it's because I have, let me get my sequencer back really quick. I'm not in a camera of any sort, am I? Woo! Lots going on here. Lots going on. It's because of this flicker, I believe. Oh, no. You know why? Doing this, I believe, is because Control Shift G. Let's oh shoot, okay. I think it's just the amount of reflective objects I have in the scene is a little much for my computer at this moment in time. Let's get that back. Is the inner room what I'm looking for? Why won't it let me? That's annoying. Let's take this quality down. Let's go to high. Oh, okay. We can breathe just a little bit. I'll walk you through some of the stuff I was doing here. Let me just get this room back. Come on now. Where are you at? Gotta be in here somewhere. Dude, son, here we go. Is this it? Room light? That's the room light. Alright. Interior lights, fluorescent housing. Here we go. Inner room. Bam. Alright. So I think the biggest thing that's like chunking this whole thing up is these video materials. I'm running these image sequences, these large image sequences. That's probably what's doing it. And I think I'm trying to figure out like the best way to undo these. Maybe just I could temporarily replace them with another material perhaps. Let's do that. Where are you? All right, materials. No, it's still the same. All right, let me run you through it. So let's get out of here. Whoop. All right, so we have this beautiful city in the back. This is all the kitbash stuff, and it's super cool because it's running pretty sweet. If I select one, hit F, I can hop to it. Let's get that camera speed all the way up. And I built this like emissive material that makes it look like there's a bunch of lights on these guys. And let me walk you through that first. So if I select this thing, we can actually find its material. We can scroll down. We can hit Control B. That's going to browse us to the actual asset. Let's see. How would I find this thing? Where are you? Material? I don't see you. Let's do another way. Let's just go to the friggin' folder. All right, materials. Glass black. All right, so this is the instance. Let's go to the master material. I'll show you how I set that up. It's pretty simple. So we navigate to it there. Boom. We are in the master material. It all comes down to this guy right here. This material. This texture, rather. All right, so what I did, my good friend Marcus, he graduated on an aircraft carrier in San Diego. It was super cool. Electrical engineering, very talented. On this aircraft carrier, you know, it's docked. It's a museum at this point. And there's a bunch of buildings. You know, it's San Diego. So what I did is I stopped down, I grabbed my DSLR, I stopped way down, and I snapped a picture, basically like this. I brought this into Photoshop. I cropped it. I, you know, straightened it out so everything was square enough, square looking. I painted any areas black that didn't really belong. And I left the color, right? I saved this out. and I bring this into the master material. Now everything is kind of let's see here. Here we go. So this master material is set up in this way where we have this material, we have this texture, right? And it is plugged into, I threw a material function on it. If you right click, hit material function underscore, you're gonna get the tiling function, and that's gonna give you all of the different scale, pan, and tiling options, the rotation. This is the one that comes with the like Quixel materials, I believe. You might have to import a Quixel material in order to get this in your project, in order for you to search for it. But that's how I'm actually moving and adjusting this material, and that's multiplied with the actual emissive intensity. I'm technically not using this. We can just delete that if we want, and I'm just using an emissive intensity to power that, and that's going into emissive color, and it gets you a really, really cool looking effect here. So if I go to the actual material, and let's just kind of scrunch this down. This is the instance I'm messing with at this point. So that tiling I mentioned, right, we can scrunch it down, we can make it larger. Was it 0.075 before? I think it was. Make it tiny, just depending on where you're viewing it from, 0.01, make it huge. I think that's where I had it. And then of course we have the intensity, so you can really go to town on these windows here. But we're viewing it from way back in our set. So I got them dialed into a look that I like, and I just kind of duplicated all these buildings and scattered them around into different spots. We got one way out there, these guys way out there. Oh, I have a fog card thing as well going. This guy, it's hard to see, but you can kind of see that it's adding a little bit of atmospheric fog to the city. If we go back to, where are you? We go back inside. Kind of like look out the window here. You can see that card is doing a little bit. It's doing a little bit to just kind of blend it into that background just a touch. Very nice. Surface imperfections. I figured this one out. Okay, so let's select a glass. Let's go to the instance, and I'll show you kind of what I'm working with here. So if we open up the max and min roughness and also the intensity, we can kind of see what's going on, and it's a good way to view our roughness from this perspective, actually. So the intensity, I think, is kind of like the gamma, and it just becomes more apparent and a little bit brighter the higher we crank this. And the roughness max will obviously control like how rough it will be in the end for the white values. I'll show you how I'm setting this up. So if I take this down to like 0, of course there'll be nothing, but if I take the min roughness up to like 0.2 and the max roughness to 0.2, then you can see it just adds a global roughness to it. But if you want just a little bit of surface imperfection, you can set that to like 0.4 and you'll get a little something, but you'll still have the ability to bring that base level, that minimum roughness up. And I couldn't figure out how to do this for the longest time. I was doing it at the beginning of these streams, I was doing it the wrong way. So let me show you how I'm setting that up. And it's so simple. This is the master material here. All right. And basically what you have is, let's start from the top. All right, so let's not really worry about the glass settings. I have an opacity plugged in, 0.5 into opacity. It's this roughness here that we want to talk about, okay? Metallic and specular, yeah, that's happening. But it's this roughness. All right, so what we can do is actually just group all this, hit C, and call this roughness. Okay, I have this texture. This is from my surface imperfection pack. This is like smudges on the glass here. So we can search for it, open this up. This kind of deal, yeah. I got a whole video on this if y'all want to know how to make these yourself. It's called like, you know, handmade materials or custom surface imperfections or something like that. Where I'm actually like painting my hands on a whiteboard and smearing it around is one way to do fingerprints. But I actually recorded this with like a laptop screen and a light setup specifically. The video goes into it if y'all want to do it yourself. And of course, you know, shameless plug, I do sell these surface imperfections. They are on my Gumroad. They are also on my Patreon. All right, so there's a bunch of different ones. You know, you can use whatever you want. Varying intensities. We got some rain streaks as well, and I think I'm combining that here on the glass too. So back to the master material. So I bring in the material itself right here, yep. And let's take this step by step. In fact, I'm just gonna show it. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. Right click, material. This is just called test. Let's get up in here. All right. Perfect. Let's go ahead and right click specular, promote those to parameter. Let's promote metallic to a parameter, and let's promote roughness to a parameter. Actually, no, we're doing roughness. That's what we're doing. Okay, base color, we'll promote that to a parameter. All right, let's make a chrome sphere. Let's make it metallic. Let's get this color to white. We'll save it. And the roughness is what is needed to make it actually chrome here. So we'll take the roughness to 0, and that should do the trick. Yeah, so we got our chrome ball. Looking good. We got a super chat. Fiery Lexu. What is up? High fives to you. Thank you very much. Very good stuff. Thank you for the support. Thanks for the shout outs. Good times. Where's the pizza? Yo, I had that pizza. Had that pizza yesterday. You should be asking, how's the pizza? It's the best pizza. Oh my God, the best pizza. Okay, let's set up this surface imperfection. So I'm gonna bring in that texture. Let's do. We'll bring in 2 different ones. Boom and boom. Sweet. Let's mess with it. So here's the cool thing. You can actually keep this roughness, right? And do what's called a static parameter or a switch parameter. So we can toggle surface imperfection on and off. So let's do a switch parameter, boom. And we'll call this surface imperfection question mark. You trying to add some surface imperfections? We're gonna pipe this roughness into false, because obviously if we click true, then we're gonna go to the surface imperfection, right? So what you can see is if we pipe this into roughness, okay? And by default, it's unchecked, right? Which means it's going to this roughness. If we change this to 1, by the way, do you guys know how to update this on the left here when I type this? Because I feel like there's a way to do it. Live update, preview material. No, that should work. Anyway, surface imperfection, This switch parameter is giving us an error because it obviously needs like a true. So we would pipe this into our surface imperfection. Now it's giving us all white. Ah, that's because full roughness on a chrome ball, I guess, is all white, is our base color. So we can set that to like 0.2, right? Nice little brushed metal. Okay. But what if we check the box? We say, yeah, let's actually, boom, let's add the surface imperfection. And we can see we got this nice, like, rough, smudged material. It looks great, right? Let's make this a little bigger for you guys. Oh my god, everything's exploding. Come on now. Yep. Come on now. Yep. Okay. Looks beautiful, but it's like, I want more control over this. This is not exactly what I want. You know, we can try this rain material too. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. All right, but let's stick with the smudges. Let's get some more control over this. So here's how I'm doing this. Basically, if we make a lerp node, all right, a lerp node is going to go between two things. It's like a mix node in Octane. I'm sure there's a very similar thing in Blender, right? So what we can do is we can actually pipe this material or this texture into the alpha, and that's going to control the difference between A and B. You know, a good example of it would be, you know, something like if I hold 3 and I promote this to a parameter, right? This is a color, and we'll pipe, is this gonna work actually? Can I just go red into A and green into B, and then pipe this into true? And I guess maybe we would have to go give it some color or something, some value of some sort. Okay, so it's still, all right, this color example is not what I'm going, technically it would have to go into base color, I think, for this example to work, and I'd have to pull roughness, whatever. You guys get the point. Let me just kind of revert what I just did there. Let's get rid of that. All right, and let's make some parameters here. Minimum roughness and get and max roughness. I'm holding S and left clicking. And I always get mixed up on which one is which, but I think max is A and min is B. Let's set the max slider to 1 on these, and the max roughness should be 1. All right, so it's the other way around. It goes into B, I guess, and that goes into A. And that is gonna yield the same thing as if we just took this texture and put it into this, this switch parameter. And for what it's worth, to keep things simple, let's just go right into roughness. Don't worry about this for now. In fact, we can get rid of that. I just want to keep it very simple for you guys. We're just focused on this roughness. So now with this piped in, what we can do is we can take the minimum roughness up to, say, like 0.2, 0.1, or 0.05. 0.1 is cool. And we can take the max roughness and we can take it down to 0.5. So we have a lot more control over our surface imperfections. Nice and subtle, super subtle, right? 0.5. But what if we want to like see more of the actual material? So what we can do is take this, we can go to a multiply, and we'll do roughness intensity. I wonder if gamma is also a word we can use. So 0 is obviously 0. 1 will look exactly the same. But if we take this to 2, we're going to see a lot more of those streaks like you see. If I take it to 1, We're not really seeing too much here, but if I take it to 2, we're gonna get a lot more of that texture coming out. And we can take that min roughness to like 0.05. Beautiful. And let's switch the texture out. This is all happening from the lerp. The lerp node is allowing us to have control over this. I'm gonna set that to 3 and get even more intensity out of that. I'm sure at some point it will break. Yeah, like right there. Kind of like inverted itself. Very, very simple. So now with this multiply plugged into true and the switch parameter plugged into roughness, we have this default value checked on. I'm going to uncheck it, okay? And you can set up a bunch of different surface imperfections with different switchers to like toggle between different ones. Like you can do smudges or rain streaks, etc. And if we save this, this default roughness value should be 0, max is 1. We'll save that. And let's go ahead and actually group all of this into its own group. I'm going to grab all of these parameters and we'll find the group and we'll just call this roughness. This switch imperfection can also be put into that same group. We'll save it. We'll close it. And if we apply that to, say, this guy here, or even the window, so we don't want to ever apply the master material. We want to apply an instance. Shoot, I lost my texture. There it is. All right, so if I apply the master material, it's gonna be rough. We're gonna have to go in here. We're gonna have to change our values from here, and then we're gonna have to make a bunch of new master materials, which is gonna duplicate all of these textures, which just bogs down your system. So the way to do it is you right click and you just make a material instance and you apply the instance to the things you're trying to work with, right? So let's see if this is even the best example of a place to view it. Yeah, maybe here? Let's see, let's double click that. Okay, so now if we drop this, okay, so surface imperfection, you can see we have a roughness. We can crank our roughness to 0.2. Right, we get some roughness out of that. Okay, great. But what if we want the surface imperfection? So we'll check that. We'll check the surface imperfection box, which then pops the surface imperfection onto our chrome material. And then we can adjust these values. So the roughness intensity, let's take that back to 1. We can take our max roughness up to 1. Our minimum roughness to 0, or 0.02 maybe, 0.03, and we can bring our max roughness up just a little bit. I meant our intensity, boom, there. Bring the max roughness down to like 0.2, and that's a great way to get some really nice control over your surface imperfections. A lot of roughness, geez. Broken, straight up broken. I'm glad I finally figured that one out, because I love surface imperfections. I love creating grunge and making stuff feel used and worn, and it's such a great way to like make your stuff look as realistic as possible. So I'm really glad I figured that one out. It's that lerp node, finally figuring out how to use the lerp node. It's so simple. It's just a mix node. It's going between two things using an alpha or using some sort of value, a black and white value. In this case, our black and white value is the texture, right? Let's switch it out for that raindrop material. Where are you? Raindrop material. Dang, or just another imperfection. That looks great. Let's do the raindrops. Pipe those in. I'll just delete these. Save it. All right, so let's figure out some scaling situation. Remember I mentioned the material function, mf_tiling? Yeah, just drop one of those here into your UVs for the image itself. We'll save it. And now if you go into the actual instance, we have all these tiling options. So we can check this on, we can change the rotation angle. Let's go ahead and like max out that roughness. So we can get a better idea of like where the streak direction is going. And it looks like it needs to be rotated 90 degrees. So that rotation angle we can take to 0.25. Yeah, so the streaks are going down that way. And they're also huge. So we can tile it twice. My math is correct. Maybe 4 times. All right, so we get those nice rain streaks on here. And then, of course, we bring it down because it's really intense. All this flickering and stuff you're seeing, this is like ray trace reflections and not having enough samples. If I were to crank the samples, it would not be good for my computer right now. I would have to do that on render only. Yeah, so that's how I'm getting this like really subtle surface imperfection here in these windows. Looks great though, shoot. Fantastic. Anything else? So, goodness gracious, truly is the Matrix. How are you guys feeling? Let me ask y'all. How are you guys doing in the chat? I've been rambling on for an hour or so. You guys doing all right? Is there anything that you want to know? Any questions that you might have? Any specific Unreal Engine questions or anything? Happy to answer some questions for y'all. It's been fun creating this piece of art. I love spending time longer than a week creating something. But man, it has been crazy, especially with the streams too. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. I'm excited to wrap this out and go on a little MoGraph vacation. Meme guy, why am I using Unreal versus C4D? You know, I use both. I think Unreal is very powerful. I wanted to learn it and kind of dive in here. Because I know it's the future. It's so powerful to be able to get a real-time view from what you're seeing in your head to on the screen as quick as possible. That's always my goal. So yeah, that's why I'm trying to learn it. How do I deal with the blotchy shadows and reflections? Okay, yeah. So basically, what I'm doing here is, I mean, we can go back to that example, and we'll grab that test. You see, we're getting a lot of noise in there. So if we bring up our post-process volume, and I go to ray, I know I'm using ray traced reflections here. In fact, I will just drop down reflections. I'm using standard ray traced. If we switch to lumen, it's gonna look like that. and that's by default if you set it up with Lumen, all right? But if you switch to ray traced, it's gonna be looking real nice. But here's the thing is like, you got all this, you know, wishy-washy noise in here. So if you go to ray trace reflections, you gotta be real careful with this. Oh, also, hold on. Screen space. Nothing beats that ray traced. All right, so max roughness, what I understand is like, if it's set to 0, it's basically off, and it's gonna go the fastest. But if it's set to 1, it's gonna go the slowest, and I think it's basically like a threshold of what will get those nice ray traced reflections. So I can set this to like 0.2, and it's gonna start getting better. Like, it's gonna start noticing some better reflections. 0.4, 0.5. You know, I don't know if you need to go beyond 0.5, because 1 just, that's rough. And default is 0.6. Now bounces, right? This is great. So 0 bounces. I guess we get one look at what's on the other side of the mirror. If you do 0 is the same as 1. Okay, if you go 2, it's gonna reflect reflections. So it's gonna reflect this reflection on the ground. That's what 2 is gonna give you, right? In the max bounces. If we go 3, I don't see why 3 would be necessary in this point, but you can start seeing reflections of reflections of reflections, and the higher this number is, the crazier it gets. But we can see between 1 and 2 is our biggest. Between 2 and 3 doesn't really get us much, so I can keep that at 2. And then the samples per pixel, that's really where it starts to go down. Lord Vega, I hope you're paying attention here, because this might blow my computer up. This one's for you. All right, so 1 sample per pixel is gonna give us that look. If we multiply it by 4, it's gonna get a little bit nicer. Let's go 8. It's gonna get a little bit cleaner. It's actually not bad. We can go 16. In this certain situation, I think we've maxed it out. We don't need to go any higher than this. So I think 8 is fantastic. 4, it's a little wishy-washy. It seems like 8 is doing the job. I'm getting some like real small. It's so hard to see. It looks pretty darn clean. We can take that 8 to a 16, but I don't know how much that's gonna do for us. So in this case, you know, this is great actually. This test is fantastic because I had this cranked up to 64. It was a lot. Now, it might be a different story when it comes to this situation, because oh no. This is a whole different story. And my computer is chugging. Let's turn off samples per pixel. Let's turn off bounces. Let's turn off roughness. Okay, so now we're moving, okay? We can fly through this. It's a good time, all right? But as soon as we like start cranking these settings, let's go to town, all right? Max roughness. I checked that on. All right, our frame rate is not bad. Let's actually bring up our FPS. Okay. Scalability, let's go to epic. Let's go to cinematic. Bring on the pain, all right? Frame rate has dropped considerably. We're at 12 FPS, 13 FPS, all right? Okay. So max roughness, let's take that to 0. You know, it doesn't look bad. We can go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. It's not giving us much. I think 0.5 is that sweet spot. Now bounces, max bounces. Let's set that to 0 or 1. 2 isn't really doing much for us in this case. Barely. We got some on the left corner, just above my head. Just a little bit. But if we take it to 3, again, we're not really getting anything beyond 2. So There's no reason to really crank that. We can go to 5, but that's just not necessary. 2 is fantastic. Samples per pixel. All right, this is where it starts to get crunchy. Let's take this to 0 or 1. We're at 12 FPS. If I take that to 4, we're down to 9 FPS. If we go back to 8, we're hitting 7 FPS. 16 is going to clean up more of that noise. We're at 4 FPS now. Oof. You know, maybe I switch out this material. Maybe this doesn't need to be this chrome like this. It's really intense. We can take samples per pixel to 32. I'll see you when the stream crashes. Oh boy. I don't even want to move the camera. I'll keep that at 8 and I'm gonna uncheck all this stuff. So that's how I'm doing that. You know, ray trace shadows. You can probably, I'm not getting too much here in my shadows. See these little flickering lights here? I think this could probably just be these samples. And it cleans it up for sure. So you don't have to actually do that to have it in your render. That's why I use console commands. Let's see, if I look for my sequence, we open up the movie render queue. This is a plugin you have to enable. So you can go to plugins, look for movie render. Check these on, right? Restart, and then you'll get the movie render queue. You can hit this little clapboard, these dots. It'll show you can choose movie render queue, open it up, and hit the settings here. And if you hit settings, you can add a console variable. And these console variables, you can essentially tell Unreal to render at full blast. So you're gonna add one, you'll just add a bunch, right? So you can do like r.raytraced.reflections. I'm just making this up. I'll just load the preset. I got some presets here. We'll do console variables RTX. And we can see here, ray traced reflection shadows. All right, that's set to 2. We have ray traced reflection sample per pixel set to 64. I don't think that needs to be 64. Like, we can probably just do 16. Ray trace shadow samples per pixel. That's for the shadows. We can probably just do 16. So you can plug that stuff in and render it that way, as opposed to having your post-process volume be at max capacity all the time. So that's how I'm doing that. Very long answer to your question, Lord Vega, but it's a good question. Who else do we got? I'm making my way down this list here. Papaxo, I'm looking at the @punishers. Where's the penguin? Well, the penguin is right here. Zip. That's our boy. That is our boy, but look at that in the reflection too. Oh wait, because the post-process volume isn't on, you're not seeing it. There it is, yeah. Reflections on reflections. All right, what else do we got? Questions. One aspiring artist. What specs do I recommend for a VFX computer? The best specs. You can't get good enough specs. You have to constantly be going for the highest specs you can afford. That's just the truth of it. You know, like, that's just the case, man. Go for the best you can buy. I think different programs have different minimum requirements that are listed on their website. So like Blender has their minimum requirements for Blender in terms of VRAM, RAM, etc. Right? There's a bunch of different stuff that goes into it, but VRAM is a thing, RAM is a thing, Your processor is definitely a thing too. And Maxon, on their website, they have recommended minimum requirements. Unreal has the same. You can just do a quick Google search and kind of see what you're looking at. And that's going to be minimum. You want max. You want the most you can get. All right? It is an expensive hobby, but hopefully we can turn them hobbies into some careers. That's why we're here, honestly. Every Saturday, we're trying to turn our hobbies into careers. So I appreciate y'all joining me here on the stream. You are helping me do that. You know, all my patrons, all my viewers here who come here, you know, you guys clicking the ads in the links and all that stuff in the descriptions, like all that stuff is helping me do that. So I can't thank y'all enough. It's freaking sweet. It's great. I love that I can do this. And give back. I try and give back, of course, you know. Tutorials, baby. It's all about them tutorials. Trying to inspire y'all to do stuff. All right. Q&A time, still going. How much time did it take to render this little Davinci situation? This took, I think this took 2 hours. But you're gonna see a lot of flickering. You're gonna see a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna have to up the resolution to get in there and like really clean up that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to render a 4K. We'll see if the computer can handle it, but I'm gonna be doing that literally like right after the stream. I'm gonna set up a 4K export, see what I can get going. But this is 32 ray traced reflection samples at 1080p. Took about 2 hours to get all this EXR sequence. Let us see any more questions. Random. Other than William Fauché, who would you recommend to learn Davinci Resolve? Shoot, son. Well, William Fauché doesn't really teach Resolve too much. He's done a couple videos on it. There is, let's see, for specifically VFX, you have, God dang it, what's his name? From Latvia. So do I know? Yes, Andre Lebrov. He is a great resource for C4D, for Octane, for Davinci. So if y'all are trying to level up, Andre Lebrov is the man. So cool. Such a good dude. So check him out, Andre Lebrov. Another good resource for Davinci. To be honest with you, I'm not really watching Davinci tutorials, so I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I could help you a little bit more, but I just don't know. I'll just look up a quick little thing. How to do this. I'll see the thing. All right, done. You know, I'm not as deep into the Davinci tutorial life. I've been using it for long enough that I know basically how to do what I'm trying to do. But I am learning Fusion, or actually that is a lie. I am planning to learn Fusion. It is on my list. Fusion is Davinci's built-in After Effects. This is it right here, and it is very powerful. You know, the more I could, is this particles? Do they got emitters? My goodness. My goodness. Davinci's crazy. Let me undo that. I don't want particles flying around. What else do we got? Logan, when did I start using Unreal? Dude, you can go back on the channel and find the exact video where I started using Unreal. It was a live stream, an early on live stream. I opened it maybe for the second time. Maybe I opened it once or twice off camera. But I figured out how to enable ray tracing on camera, and like, it was crazy. My mind was blown. But it took me, I don't know. I've been using Unreal at this point now for probably 2 years. And it took me a good while to figure out how to really grasp it. And what it really took was a project for me to knock out and to complete. This is probably my 5th project in Unreal. The first project I set out to do was to create an atmosphere, a very simple atmospheric environment. It's actually one of my it's like 6 streams ago, and it's of like a little marsh with a little totem, a metal little structure, dead center, and I create it live on the stream with you guys. That was what I wanted to do first, and I didn't have the ability to do that. So what it really took was me finding someone who knew the program, and of course watching tutorials, right? I would just watch tutorial on tutorial, but I would have all these questions that these tutorials didn't hit. And there's better tutorials now. And that's why I make the Unreal tutorials that I do make, is for people like me who just didn't have those answers to the questions they had. But it took someone reaching out here on the streams being like, hey, like I see you struggling, I'd love to help you. And that was Steve Began. You know, he's my Unreal sensei. I always call him Sensei Steve. He pops into the chat from time to time, and he took every Friday morning out of his schedule to answer any questions I had. I was like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And he would just give me a few hours of his time, and I'm so indebted to him for doing that, because he boosted me up to the point where like I could start messing around and like start getting stuff to look or go at least in the direction that I saw in my head. And if it weren't for Steve, I wouldn't be as in deep to Unreal Engine. And then the first person to really like start putting out the tutorials, the cinematic tutorials that I was looking for, was of course William Fauché. He's the man. So like I was just consuming his tutorials and really diving deep with him. I got to meet him as a friend now, and like, we're not like calling each other up every day, like how's it going? But we've talked a little bit, and he's been a guest on the channel. He's been a judge for these challenges in the past. And he's been a super solid, really, really nice guy, and I'm so glad that I've been able to go a little bit deeper with him. But his tutorials are, the best. So with all that, I was able to build up my knowledge of Unreal and create my own tutorials. Tutorials that I would love to have. And I, of course, am not a master. I don't know it all. So I like to shout people out and kind of point to people who helped me get there. Steve Began and William Fauché being 2 of them. Another big one is Winbush. He has a tutorial for everything. My goodness, that guy. He's always there, like, getting you that very specific tutorial that you need for that specific problem. So Winbush has been a massive help for me in Unreal as well. And also another friend. He's been here. I think he's joined us here on the live streams once. He's come over. We've done some photo scans together. He lives close by, so Winbush is a good one. And I will be in Chicago at Half Res with Winbush. We're going to be speaking. So definitely come join us if you're in the Chicago area. That's how I learned Unreal. Other than that, it's just like getting projects done, completing projects, forcing yourself to complete a project. And that's why these challenges are so great, is it gives us a chance to tackle something. It's just an excuse to complete a project. And we do weekly challenges on the Discord server as well. So that's a good question. How long did it take me to learn Unreal? It's a long answer. These are long answers, y'all. That wasn't even the question. It was when did I start using it? Good question, Logan. Thank you. Lord Vega, gotcha. If you guys have any more questions, please drop them for me. Let's see. I'm going down the list at the app punishers. I'm just looking at the app punishers because they're a little bit easier to see. Do I ever game on my VFX computer? The reason I use PC is because I am a gamer. So all the games are on PC. My dad was a gamer. I'd say he still is a gamer. He plays a lot of Magic the Gathering these days, Magic Online. But we started with a gaming PC. My dad built computers when he was my age, and we had an Alienware when I was growing up, and we'd play Doom and what other games? So many games, so many PC games. I was a PlayStation kid too, so we always had a PlayStation in the house. What else? But recently, you know, like I think gaming and VFX goes hand in hand because you need a nice graphics card to run those nicer games. As you need a nice graphics card to run, you know, do some really nice, intense computing. So I don't play games on my computer too much anymore. I like to, because I'm on my computer for work, I want to be away from my computer as much as possible when I'm not working. So that's why I got the PlayStation hooked up. I got the Switch hooked up. Recently have been loving Stray. I beat it 3 times already. Got that platinum trophy. Did everything you can do, just about. Besides glitching through walls, which I did once. Did about everything you can do in that game. What am I playing right now? Working on Horizon Zero Dawn. Trying to get into that game. It's a lot. It's a big old open world thing. I still gotta beat Elden Ring. God dang. All right, back to it. More questions. Ollie, how close would you say to being done am I with this render? Dude, I'm never done. I'm gonna tell you that much. I'm never done. Like, this right here, I could tweak this forever, man. I have to just abandon it, okay? I just have to release it. I have to force myself to be done. I have to be done tomorrow. Because that's the deadline, right? So I'm done when the deadline is there. Where is it at in my head with like what I'm imagining? I'd say it's pretty close, man. I'd say it's like 95%, 90%. There's a couple things that I really want to do, namely populate this with a bit more decals, a bit more trash, a bit more detail like on the floor and stuff. Maybe I'll have time to do a pass like that. Some cobwebs up here would be great. Something maybe on the left and right. It feels a little empty here. I think that could be helpful. Something in the corner, I just don't know what. I could just spend more time on this thing, sit with it, come up with ideas, add little things here and there, little details. I could spend a whole month doing that, you know? The next biggest thing that I need to work on is the actual like animated layout of this video background. You see how it's just static here all the way up until this point where it starts moving, right? I would love to have something here that is moving a little bit. So I'm probably gonna do a little bit of After Effects work tomorrow to get some movement there. That's pretty much it, man. Like other than that and like just kind of cleaning up some noise here. We can see it's a little noisy up at the top. That's just more samples, bigger resolution. That's about it. You know, it'd be nice to have some mountains on the right side over here, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Gotta move on at some point, so. Yeah, man, a good question. No, it's a good question. All right, back at it. Q's and A's. That's about it, huh? That's about it. If you guys have any more questions, I am down to answer. I might wrap it up early here today. Get some lunch. It's about that time. All right. What do I think is the most important aspect of post-processing? I usually just render my stuff in Blender, and it's so lost in the after part. Okay, you're lost in the post-processing part. All right, that's a good question. What's the most important part of post-processing? I would say, you know, you can do color correction inside of Blender. You can do color correction inside of Unreal Engine, inside of C4D, etc. So let's just assume that you got your look and your color in Engine, okay? From there, the most important part, I would say, would be like imperfections, subtle imperfections. So doing just like a little bit of blur to your image, like 1% blur, so it's not tack sharp and perfect. And adding grain is huge. Bloom you can do in Engine, but basically like all the things I'm doing in post, you saw here on the stream, I'm color correcting. I'm doing all my color in DaVinci because I have the most control in DaVinci. I'm adding stuff like lens. It's a bunch of like lens imperfections. So vignette. We have like the barrel distortion, which gives you that fisheye look. That's something I'm adding. Film grain is something I'm adding because no real footage is perfectly denoised unless you're shooting like, you know, super digital, perfectly lit, denoised. Everything has a little bit of noise, and I'm a big fan of film, so adding that film grain and the film imperfections back in is something that I love doing. And then, like I said, that little 1% of blur is very helpful to have because nothing is, if you look at footage and you zoom into 100%, it's not going to be a perfect straight line. It's going to have a little bit of blur to it. Bloom is another great thing. These are lens effects that emulate real cameras. So I'm just trying to emulate a real camera as much as possible. Ooh, thank you. Amazing. Wonderful wife. Nice little turmeric ginger blast. Cayenne, spiciness. Yes. These things are the best. Those are the main things I'm doing in post. I could go a little bit further and like mask some stuff out. I could just add a bunch of like render out a Z-depth pass and add a bunch of like atmospheric clouds and fog and all this stuff. Not really necessary in this render, but something that you can definitely do. All right, let me get to these last questions here. Oh, we got a whole nother batch. Frank, what's up, Frank? Hey, first time catching the stream. You want to say thanks. Your project appeared in the LED cube in SIGGRAPH. I feel like I owe you a big thank you for all the things you taught me. Dude, that's awesome. Freaking SIGGRAPH LED cube, that's great. Absolutely, man. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you have learned a lot, and I'm glad that you're joining the stream for the first time. That's cool, man. When will the top 100 video drop? That's a great question. Probably all of you are wondering the same. So next Saturday is the Judgment Day stream where we're going to react to the top 100 and announce the top 5 artists. That's next Saturday. Don't miss it. Add it to your calendar. If you're on the Discord server, it's an event. It's already there. The week after, so 2 weeks from today, is when the top 100 comes out. So excited. So excited. My buddy Adam, who goes by Feverkin, he's doing the music for it. It's going to be incredible. What am I looking for when I judge? That's another good question. So I'm looking for... First, I've explained this before, but I'm going to lay out every single render in the timeline in DaVinci. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to watch them all. And if one of them looks like it's rendered really nicely, it goes up. And then I will try and pick the top 125 based off of that. It's like, how well does it look? Is your lighting solid? Are your colors solid? Is your color correction solid? Like your tones, your saturation, is your atmosphere, like how's your atmosphere? It's like a general vibe. I'm just like, is it looking great from that first glance? Then it goes up, right? So I try and pull the top 125. And from there, I whittle it down to the top 100 based off of a really like detailed pass, looking at everything, ask myself like, why does this one look better than this one? Does the simulation on this one look kind of janky, etc.? So we'll kind of whittle it down. And that's kind of when it all comes into account here, like looking at story, looking at lighting, looking at composition, looking at render quality. Of course, did you follow the rules? And then it gets into like when it starts to whittle down even further, I'd like to pick the top 20 that myself and the judges determine as the top 5. and that will just be, you know, the best of the best on all those categories that I just mentioned. Story and uniqueness starting to really shine and be important here, because everyone can do sci-fi robot like render, but you're up against like 1,000 other sci-fi robot renders. Is your sci-fi robot render really the best sci-fi robot render? You know, how many of these have we seen? But oh, maybe you come across like Frog World and it's like rendered perfectly, and you know, it's like it's a bit more unique. Then I think uniqueness starts to really shine here in these top 5 and in the top 20. So then it goes from there, and we just talk about it with the judges, go back and forth. We list our top 5 out individually, talk about why, and kind of assign points to different shots. And we figure out our top 5, and we sit with it, and we're like, are we happy with this? Does this make sense? Do we want to swap anything for anything? You know, for gut reasons, for quality reasons, for you know, like this thing just looks amazing for this reason, etc., etc. So it could be like we do a second pass on it just to make sure we're 100% positive with our like analytical top 5, and we're like, does this feel right? And then, you know, that's how it goes. Visual, did I like using Daz? Hey, it was pretty sweet, actually. Visual's the Daz master. Yes. It was pretty cool. I liked how easy it was to like slide between all the different character morphs and everything. You can buy characters on their store that are pretty cheap, they're pretty affordable, and you can like crank these sliders and make them more old or make them more buff, or you know, make their hands all big or something. It was a really, really cool program. And it was a great way to add clothes and import that into C4D or into Unreal. So I think I'll be using Daz for sure. Again, on the character side, it's been something that's been such a difficult thing for me, is doing characters, and having a workflow for characters now, or at least a glimpse into a possible workflow for characters now is great. So I'm happy about that. Abdullah, yes, I will make more Unreal tutorials. Don't you worry, my friend. I'm going to be doing a whole breakdown of my scene here, going into all the cool stuff in a nice 20-25 minute video for y'all. So that'll be a nice little nugget of info for you guys when it comes to Unreal Engine. All right. Paul, what's up, Paul? Shout outs to you, man. Solid patron, yes indeed. Great stream. Learn Load's definitely going to be my go-to video for post-processing. Oh, heck yeah, man. Absolutely, shout outs to you. Oh man, how did I learn composition? Jeez. Okay, let me take this delicious cayenne ginger shot and I will answer that question. How did I learn composition? A couple things come to mind. Ah, love that burn. So good. Honestly, I think it came from, well, there's a book actually, hold on. It's kind of a multi-part answer. I don't know where the book is right now. It's around. It's called The Visual Story, is the name of the book. I'm gonna get to that in a second, all right? But basically, I think the way I learned composition was through watching movies and playing video games for years. I think that was it. And kind of getting a gut instinct for what I liked and what I didn't like. And I gravitate towards certain images that are like, wow, this image is so cool. Following photographers on Instagram is probably a good way to do so now. And learning through them, learning through professionals, and watching the best of the best, watching the best movies, following the best artists, and really taking in how they're creating that effect and asking yourself, how are they getting that? Like, and studying it, you know? So I brought this up multiple times. Shot Deck is a great resource. You can look up any movie. They're all screenshots from movies. So you can look up any movie. You can type interior, you can type exterior, you can type, interior car shot, etc., right? And find certain shots that you like, that speak to you, and start to develop a library, an internal library of things you like and things you don't like. And that will shape the way your art is made, of course. But that book, The Visual Story, is like the math and the science of why things work and why things don't compositionally. So it talks about everything from color, how you can separate foreground and background with color, how you can do that with tones and values, lights and darks, that kind of stuff. It talks about shapes, talks about, that's my main takeaway from the book. And it's a solid book, right? With a ton of pictures and examples from movies, screenshots and stuff. So that's one. There's another book called Master Shots. This one's awesome. And this one is all about like different shots in movies that make you feel a certain way. If you want people to, let's see, I've talked about this once before on stream, but all these different chapters, right? So you got like fight scenes, chase scenes, suspense, dramatic, entrances and exits, all different things that like, this is the cinematic language right here, this book. And it talks about how to move the camera and how to get tension from someone with a camera move, that kind of stuff. This one is great. Oh, such a good book. So I mean, composition is based around that as well. Those are just some things. That and photography. Go out, take photos. It really helps with your composition. You study it, you practice it. Back and forth, back and forth. All right. We got questions for days here, y'all. Switch, you missed the whole thing. It's all good. You watch it back. Definitely. But with that, guys, I think I might have to bounce here. Get some food here. Get some sleep. Definitely. All right. So final things. Okay. Final announcements. Next week, next Saturday, is Judgment Day. All right. So come prepared. Mentally, physically, spirit, whatever you got to do, all right, come prepared. Next week, we'll be joined by some guest judges. I will be announcing the judges later in the week. We're going to be getting together, reacting to the top 100, and announcing the top 5 winners of this Moving Meditations challenge. This is like, if you caught any stream, this is the stream to catch next week, okay? So put it in your dang calendar. 10:45 a.m. PST, right? That's 10:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will see you for Judgment Day. We're gonna look at the best of the best, joined by the judges. Other than that, we got the top 100 coming out the week after that. The deadline for this thing is tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. PST. 11:59 p.m. PST. As soon as it hits Monday in California, it's over. For everybody, it is over. So good luck to y'all. I know y'all probably don't need it at this point. Maybe some of you do. So good luck to those of you who do. And I will. I'll be seeing you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. We're on the last stream of all the streams. You guys are the real ones. Made it all the way to the end. Thank you very much. Catch y'all soon. Kit Bash codes, 50% off. Should be linked in the description. Pinned up in the chat here. There's only 50 of them, so if you're trying to get some Kit Bash stuff, definitely do that. I'll see you guys next week for Judgment Day. Peace out, y'all. Have a good one. Later.